Hi.
What's up?
Did you see the news today?
Of course. Which news? The one about JB and Selena Gomez?
Nope. The one about cigarette price rising.
Oh yeah? Where? What happened? How? Why?
The state representative of Missouri is trying to raise tobacco tax because Missouri has the lowest cigarette tax in the nation. Cigarettes are a demerit good.
Oh okay. What exactly is a demerit good again?
A demerit good is a good or service that is socially undesirable. For example, like cigarettes I talked about. They have negative externality. You know what that means? Negative externality is a market activity that negatively affects other people. It is a form of market failure.
What? Market failure?
Yes. Market failure. The product is overproduced and overconsumed, so the government intervenes. One way of doing that is by establishing an ad valorem tax.
Wow. You sound so smart. What is an ad valorem tax?
Ad valorem tax is an indirect tax on a good or service imposed by a government whose amount of tax depends on the value of the item or service.
Oh, I get it. It's like VAT, right?
Correct. Here, let me show you a graph to help explain its meaning.
Originally, the market for cigarettes in Missouri was at equilibrium PQ, with price P and quantity Q. Then, the ad valorem tax, which is an unpriced determinant of supply, shifted in supply from S to S plus tax. This decreased quantity from Q to Q1, and increased price from P to P1. Thus, a new equilibrium is formed at point P1 Q1. There are various ways in which to deal with negative externalities. The first and the most obvious method is tax. Tax can make the price of the demerit good higher and the quantity lower, which is exactly what is wanted. The government can get the generated revenue and use it to eliminate negative externality and invest on other public goods and merit goods. However, in reality, the government may diverge and use the tax on other things such as paying off government debt. The most important disadvantage can be that it distorts the price signaling mechanism through government intervention. There is also time lag, because it takes time to apply tax, and so it can only work in the long run. In addition, cigarettes are inelastic goods due to their addictive nature, so quantity may not reduce significantly even after the tax is imposed. Lastly, there is also the danger of parallel markets or smuggling as done in UK. Another way is to subsidize a cleaner medium, like herbal cigarettes or nicotine-free cigarettes. Although smoking itself is bad, addictive smokers can cut away from the destructive nicotine through nicotine-free cigarettes. This can potentially decrease the number of smokers in the long run. Not only is it healthier, but also the price lower, so it can attract more consumers. Theoretically, the nicotine-free cigarettes will be consumed more and actual cigarettes will be consumed less. For example, in Canada, it is legal to sell and advertise these cigarettes as long as they are nicotine-free. However, this also distorts the price signaling mechanism due to government intervention. There is no revenue, but even worse, government will lose money from having to pay out, and this creates high opportunity cost. There is also imperfect information, so it will take time for consumers to adapt to the nicotine-free cigarettes. Also, many are against them because they contain different flavors which attract young children to smoke. Education is also a great method in the long run, especially because it does not disrupt the price signaling mechanism. There is time lag because the curriculum cannot be changed suddenly. In the short run, there is also an opportunity cost of having to train the teachers and to teach the students, which creates no revenue. Still, education can continuously teach people, which can be passed down generation to generation. For example, ISM has wellness classes in middle school and in 9th and 10th grade, where students learn about the bad effects of smoking cigarettes. Knowing that cigarette smoking not only affects oneself but everyone else around, there may be lesser chance of one smoking. Early education will potentially teach children not to smoke in the future. Another way the government can tackle the negative externality is through advertising, as a means of warning the people about the negative effects that the demerit good entails. For example, scientists and doctors say that a smoker is more likely to have a heart attack, to develop cancer, to have a stroke, to have emphysema, or to have bronchitis compared to non-smoker. However, not everyone is aware of the severity of the consequences of smoking and are therefore making uninformed decisions when choosing to buy more cigarettes. As a result, the government may invest some of the money on advertising to raise awareness so that people will make wiser decisions. Generally, humans are very concerned with survival, and this can be considered a natural instinct. Therefore, the government is hoping that the uneducated people, once they get informed, will be wise enough to quit smoking. If the government is successful in using advertising, the negative externality of second-hand smoke will decrease effectively. For example, each of Marlboro's cigarette packs must now have a slogan such as "A smoking kills," or "A tobacco smoke can harm your children." However, there are also more severe cases such as in the UK, where the cigarette packs of Marlboro say "A smoking causes fatal lung cancer," and this is accompanied by a graphic image of two lungs being compared to one healthy without the effects of smoke, and the other very much ruined by the smoking. This appeals to fear and is intended to make the people rethink about quit smoking. Since nicotine is addictive, and therefore cigarettes are a necessity, it is not easy to convince people to quit. Therefore, advertising campaigns may sometimes fail. In this case, the government is at a loss in the long run, because their investment led to no rewards. However, in some cases, this advertising and warning has been seen to work. This is beneficial both in the short run and long run, because not only is the well-being of many previous smokers preserved, but those who don't smoke are also less affected from second-hand smoking. This would not only help the government solve the problem of the externality itself, but also end up saving them money in the long run, as they may be able to invest less on trying to cancel the negative externality with more merit goods. Legislation has time lag because the government is required to reach a consensus before the legislation is passed. There also runs the risk that the government will reject the legislation. There is possible revenue if the legislation includes a fine. Legislation also requires the cost of enforcement, which can be larger than the revenue gained. There is also a possibility of corruption from happening while the legislation is being passed, or when it has already passed. An example of legislation as a means to reduce the negative externalities is the plain packaging legislation in Australia, which forces cigarette companies to use olive green packaging with repulsive images.
Oh. So cigarettes are actually a really big problem, huh?
Yes, despite there being many ways of intervention, it is still difficult for the government to prevent the overproduction of such goods.
It really is a shame that most Demerit goods are also inelastic goods. Despite knowing how bad they are, some people just can't stop smoking.
That's true. Well, we can only hope for the best.